My mom walked into my house one day and casually said, "Since you have a spare room, I'm moving in." I laughed, thinking she was joking, but when movers showed up, her next words made me freeze. I never imagined I'd need to get revenge on my own mother, but she left me no choice. It all started one afternoon when she waltzed in, surveyed the place like it was a hotel, and declared, "Since you have a spare room, I'm moving in." I laughed, assuming it was a joke, but no, she was dead serious. The thing is, my mom was never the nurturing type. Growing up, it was clear she didn't really want children. Having me and my sister was something she just did because it was expected of women. Once we were old enough to care for ourselves, she made sure we knew we were nothing but a burden. By 16, I had a job. At 17, I was paying rent in her house, and by 18, she told me to leave because her house wasn't a charity. So, I did. I worked hard, got through college with scholarships, and built a stable life. I married an incredible man, we bought a house, and for the first time, I had peace, no drama, no manipulation, just calm, until she barged back into my life. I laughed at her suggestion, but she stared back, completely serious. "I'm not joking," she said. "That room is empty, and I need a place to stay. It makes sense." I shook my head. "That's not going to happen." She scoffed. "Of course it is. You're my daughter. You owe me." I didn't owe her anything. I told her no, but she ignored me, speaking over me like my opinion didn't matter. She rambled about her rent increasing, how tired she was of working, and how it was time for her children to take care of her, as if it were already settled. Again, I told her, "Not happening." She huffed, called me ungrateful, and stormed out. I thought that would be the end of it, but a week later, a moving truck appeared in my driveway. At first, I couldn't process what I was seeing. The truck was rumbling, and when I looked outside, there she was, directing movers like she owned the place. I rushed outside, throwing the door open. "What are you doing?" She looked at me like I was crazy. "I'm moving in." I laughed again, convinced this was a joke, but the movers were already unloading, a couch, boxes, a bed frame. I stepped in front of the door. "No, you are not moving in." She rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic. I'm your mother. Of course, I'm moving in." That's when my husband stepped out from the porch. He stood beside me, arms crossed, and in the calmest voice possible, said, "Take your things and leave our property, now." My mother, who was used to walking over everyone, blinked in disbelief. "Excuse me?" He didn't flinch. "You heard me." And then she lost it. A full-blown scream, a high-pitched, rage-fueled scream, right there in the driveway, in front of the movers, and the neighbors. "You can't do this to me," she shrieked. "This is my right. You owe me." She turned to me, her face flushed with fury. "You're really going to let him talk to me like this? I raised you. I fed you. I gave you a roof over your head." I stared at her, blood boiling. "You kicked me out when I was 18. She waved it off. "You were an adult." I shook my head. "So are you." She kept screaming, how we were cruel, how I'd regret this, how she'd tell the whole family. The movers stood awkwardly, clearly uncomfortable with the drama unfolding. My husband, unfazed, said, "If you don't leave in 5 minutes, I'll call the police." That finally silenced her. She stood there, fists clenched, chest heaving, then, without another word, she spun around, marched to her car, and sped off, leaving the movers confused and standing in the driveway. I couldn't understand what she was thinking. Did she honestly believe she could just decide to move in and I'd comply? That she could barge back into my life after all these years and claim control over my home? But it wasn't over, not even close. The next day, the messages started flooding in, texts, calls, relatives, threats, and even legal talk. That's when I realized, this wasn't just about a pushy mom. I was in the middle of a full-blown war. I thought the drama would stop there. I was wrong. The morning after, I woke up to 27 missed calls, my sister, my aunt, a few cousins. I groaned, knowing exactly what this was about. And then I saw the texts. "How could you throw your own mother out? She sacrificed so much for you. And this is how you repay her? She's your mother. What kind of monster are you?" I sat up in bed, my heart racing. What on earth was she telling them? I didn't have to wonder for long. My sister, who didn't even talk to our mom much, called me immediately, the second I picked up. She was furious. "She told everyone you kicked her out with nowhere to go." I nearly dropped the phone. "What?" She went on. "She came to you, begging for a place to stay, and you and your controlling husband threw her out. She's staying with Aunt Maria now, crying about how cruel you are. I could feel my anger rising. That's not what happened. I know that, she snapped. But half the family thinks you're a terrible person now. My jaw tightened. Of course, she was playing the victim. She had a lifetime of twisting things to make herself look innocent and everyone else like the villain. And it worked. The next thing I knew, family members were unfriending me, blocking me on social media, and even some coworkers started acting weird. Then I found out she'd called my job. I couldn't believe it. She actually called my workplace, claiming she was my mother, that she was homeless, and that I had abandoned her. She said she was concerned about my character and wanted to warn them about the kind of person I was. I was trembling. This wasn't just a family dispute anymore, it was an outright attack on my character. I sat on the couch, staring at my phone, my hands shaking with rage. My husband sat beside me, quietly for a while, before asking, "What do you want to do?" That's when it hit me. For my entire life, I had just been reacting to her. She would do something horrible, and I'd respond. Not this time. This time, I was going to make the first move, and she wouldn't see it coming. She wanted a battle? Fine, I'd give her one. First, I needed to get ahead of her lies. I called my workplace, spoke to HR, and explained everything, the way my estranged mother was fabricating stories to ruin my reputation. Thankfully, they believed me, though they warned me to tread carefully. That's when I knew she wouldn't stop there. Sure enough, in the days that followed, things got worse. My mother wasn't just trashing my name, she was trying to take over my life. First, I received a notice from my bank. Someone had attempted to access my account using my maiden name and old security questions, things only she would know. Then, my insurance company contacted me, saying someone had tried to add themselves as a dependent to my policy. But the worst part came when I found out a fake welfare claim had been filed under my name, accusing me of abandoning an elderly parent and committing financial abuse. She was trying to paint me as a criminal. I was furious, but I didn't panic. If she wanted to play dirty, I'd play smarter. I froze my credit, changed all my passwords, and set up two-factor authentication everywhere. I then called a lawyer, and after that, I started digging. My mother had secrets, big ones, and I was going to expose them, the truth that would ruin her. I reached out to old family friends, people who knew her from before, and what I uncovered shocked me. It turned out that she hadn't been evicted like she claimed. She'd been thrown out for scamming her landlord. Apparently, she'd been renting out her apartment on Airbnb without his knowledge while still pretending to live there. She made thousands of dollars, never paid him a cent, and when he discovered the scam, she tried to accuse him of being the one scamming her. She was blacklisted from most rental properties in town. That's why she came crawling to me, because she had no other place to go. But that wasn't all. I also found out she had stolen thousands of dollars from my elderly grandmother before she passed away. She took money that was meant for medical bills and spent it on vacations. That's why most of the family had cut ties with her. She was a thief, a liar, a con artist, and now I had proof. It was my turn to expose her. I set a trap, and she walked right into it. I waited for her next move, knowing she wouldn't be able to resist trying to get more from me. Sure enough, a few days later, she contacted my lawyer, claiming she was entitled to financial support as my mother and that I was obligated to house her under some nonsensical legal claim. My lawyer shut her down hard, but I wasn't finished yet. I gathered everything I had, her eviction, the fraud, the stolen money, and did something she least expected. I sent it to the entire family, but I didn't stop there. I sent it to her landlord, the bank she owed money to, and even the police, because what she'd done was criminal. The fallout was swift. The family turned on her instantly. All those relatives who had been attacking me went quiet. Some even apologized. Her landlord sued her for fraud. The bank launched an investigation. And the best part? The police got involved in the stolen money case. The last I heard, she was desperately trying to find someone else to take her in. But no one wanted anything to do with her. She had burned every bridge. As for me, I finally had peace. I thought she would fight back, spin more lies, play the victim like she always did. But I underestimated how quickly people abandon a sinking ship. Once the truth came out, everyone turned their backs on her. No sympathy, no support, and no one defending her. She tried to do damage control. She called my sister, my aunt, even some distant cousins, trying to convince them that I was the liar, that I was trying to ruin her life. Nobody believed her. She went to Aunt Maria, the one person who had taken her in after I kicked her out, and begged to stay. Aunt Maria threw her out. She had only helped because she thought my mother was a struggling woman in need. But when she found out the truth, that my mother had been stealing from her, she snapped. She tossed my mother's bags onto the lawn and slammed the door in her face, and just like that, my mother was homeless. Karma hit harder than I ever could. The best part? It wasn't me who dealt the final blow, it was the law. A few weeks after everything blew up, I got a call from a detective. The police had started investigating my mother's finances, especially the money she stole from my grandmother, and guess what? She had warrants for other crimes, fraud, writing bad checks, even stealing someone's identity. I had no idea, but I wasn't surprised. With everything I handed over, they had enough to arrest her. When the police picked her up, I got a message from a cousin who still kept in touch with her. It was short and simple: "Your mom just got arrested at a gas station." I stared at the message for a moment before a smile spread across my face. The aftermath, and why I have no regrets. She tried to destroy my life. She tried to take over my house. She tried to ruin my reputation. She tried to steal from me, and in the end, she lost everything. She spent months fighting legal battles. Last I heard, she was bouncing from motel to motel, begging distant relatives for money. No one helped her. She had burned too many bridges. As for me, I moved on with my life, peaceful, happy, and free, and for the first time ever, I felt safe. Because the one person who had tormented me my whole life was finally facing the consequences of her actions. And I didn't feel guilty, not one bit. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.